my dad introduced me to cryptocurrency in 2017. You wouldn't see me when they're talking too much. You would see me when they are doing stuff, right? So that's like being the difference between me and a couple other persons, even amongst my friends, really. We just knew we had one shot at this, and the world was watching, and we needed to like just make it right once. I believe in one thing: build yourself enough so people would envy that they want to be with you.
Thank you so much, Dayo, for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having me also.
Amazing. Our guest today is the co-founder of Zerocard, the first African crypto debit card that allows you to spend crypto like cash. Now, with this card, you can spend your crypto, you know, at the ATM point or using POS or even on the web. And all of this, is all stablecoin powered. Really amazing infrastructure, right? So it's great to have you
Yeah.
here. Let's start with the basics. Who are you? What do you do? And what mission are you on?
Uh, I mean, those are amazing questions. Who am I? You know, for a minute, I mean, I could say I'm everything really, but I think the first things first is my name is Dayo Folajin, and I mean, as short as I'm the co-founder of Zerocard, presently also a product lead, making things happen in Zerocard. What do I do? I mean, aside from building Zerocard on a daily basis, I think I'm obsessed with designs and how things work, right? Um, yeah, and I like to, meddle electricity. Fun fact. And what's the last question again, please? What mission
What
am I
mission?
on? Oh yeah, correct. So what mission am I on? Well, if you asked me this question, I mean, years back, I could have said, you know, uh, to build something that would, I mean, anyone could just use, right? But here came Zero Card. And to be very fair, I think the mission that we are on, and I'm personally on also, is to make money universal, right? So come to think about it, I mean, a lot of problems that I personally faced and a lot of people have been talking about is the fact that when people talk about cryptocurrency, they do not see it as money itself, right? They see it as something aside from money. They talk about cash, talk about cryptocurrency. These things are not money. People talk about crypto like one geeky stuff, money as something different, really. So what we're trying to do, or what I'm personally trying to do, personally myself, is to make sure that we bridge the gap between what we call money itself. Cryptocurrency is money, local currency is money, and a couple things around that. So yeah.
Yeah, really amazing mission. Trying to make, money universal. Interesting. Now let's go back in time to, your early days, right? Now you talk about the fact that yourself and some of your friends, have issues with like um money or accessing money like on a global scale as it may. What are some experiences with money that you've had, while growing up? Is it like spending or like saving? Just walk us through like some of the experiences that you've had while growing up with money.
Well, well, that question, yeah. Okay, so I think my first answer to that would be that I'm very bad at saving money. I'm only spending, right? I'm very bad at saving money. So, I mean, I do believe more in investing and saving itself, right? So, I mean, I've made a lot of poor decisions in terms of investments. I mean, some of my early investments were in crypto, right? I mean, I could remember like my first investment was like years back in 2017, investing in some ICOs and some dead coins at that point. I mean, none of them flew. I mean, and a couple things around that. But yeah, particularly myself, I'm the kind of person that likes to see money as a means to an end, right? So I try to use it to get other things. Really, like okay, um, I want wealth. I use money to access wealth. Really, right? I want stability. I use money to access stability. So I do spend money almost on a constant basis, and I really save, right? Well, that's not the legacy of my family. My family is a yeah, they save more than spend, right? So, but yeah, so I think that's my journey about money itself, specifically about money itself. Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. So which brings me like to the next question of, Why do you think people sort of like end up, or why do you think people do not end up doing the work that they truly want to do? And so, based on like your mission, right, of like making money universal, this is like the work you want to do. But why do you think some don't end up doing like the work that they truly want to do?
Overthinking, being an idea guy, and being an African. I mean, it's very controversial, really, by the way. But yeah, so the first one, overthinking, I think it's like the killer of it's killer of all ideas, right? When you kind of like just overthink things, really. So I have this principle. I mean, it's been like a very it's been something that's been with me for a very long time, right? So it's that I mean, you wouldn't see me when they're talking too much. You would see me when they are doing stuff, right? So that's like being the difference between me and a couple other persons, even amongst my friends, really. So instead of talking about stuff for a very long time or imagining or whatever it is, what is that first step I can take to making sure I get to that level I want to get to? That's like one of the things I usually look at and say, because I mean I realized for a very long time, you worry about the problems, and that's why I brought in as an African. I mean, trust me, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of hurdles that you have to cross, right? As an African person, as an African man, there are a lot of hurdles you have to cross from, thinking about your infrastructural problems, thinking about your funds problems, thinking about even cultural problems itself, really, right? So, I mean, those are things that could actually, deter you from trying to like do whatever it is that you want to do, really. Now, the mission I spoke about earlier is it's quite a large one. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes it overwhelms me myself, really. But like the point is, I don't worry about the final point. I worry about the next step because that's what matters at this point. The next fucking step. Sorry for using the hair for really, but yeah, the next step really. What's the next step? What's the next step? And I cross the step. I move on to the next step. It's quite easy that way. Quite calculative and also quite cheap, really. So that's like what I think. That's pretty much one thing. But yeah, to answer the question, like I said, being an African, being an idea guy, I mean, I have a couple people that will tell me that I have an idea to do this, I have an idea to do that. And some of these ideas are quite nice. Come to think about it, a lot of people have ideas really, but the difference between them and someone who actually, is in the field making waves and a couple things around that is that they are they focused on doing stuff than just thinking about it or just coming up with ideas. I have an idea to liberate African people from certain form of problems. Yeah, I mean that's good. So it's a good idea. I mean, why not start at it? Or if you need people to help you to, join the journey, find people with like minds too that would, want to believe in whatever it is that you want to do. But one of the things you should not just do is staying at that same point. I mean, that's like one of the things that would really deter you from wherever it is. And I was speaking to my co-founder earlier today, and he said something about the fact that nothing is impossible. And I mean, it can't like stop with me because when you think about it, nothing is actually impossible. Really, it's just all about where you are or your mind, technically, something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that because quite a number of persons are like idea guys. Talk is cheap, but like execution is everything, right? I
Yeah.
think most of like the founders that have been on the podcast also have mentioned the fact that you need to just start. You know, for every like thing that you do, it produces more information for like the next step. And so, what you mentioned about figuring out what the next step is makes a lot of sense to me also because what you did previously, sort of like provides information for like the next step and the next step and the next step, like that, like that. Um, Really interesting. It brings me to the next question. Then, what makes or what traits or mindsets makes one a great entrepreneur? Right, you're on your mission, um, trying to solve problem. Some people don't want to do that, but you sort of like figured out that this is how to do it, which sets you apart. Then what's like that trait? If you can pinpoint that trait, what would that be?
So the first things first is, I mean, there are a couple things. I mean, not one. I mean, I would like to mention a couple things, right? Because I mean, you can have one and then the other will let you down, really, right? So I think the first things first is, I mean, We already spoke about that. Don't be an idea guy. Always be at the end of execution. Second one will be ready to take risk. Now, as you're executing, one of the things that there are people that execute slow, there are people that execute fast. And I see fast executors as people who actually take risk, right? People who actually decide to take that huge risk and say, okay, well, I think for me to move faster to this point, I need to actually, perform something that might be controversial, right? And a couple things around that. And I think the third one is care less about what people say. That's a very important thing, actually. I mean, as an entrepreneur is on the mission, right? Nobody has the clear vision as you do. People just have ideas about what you should do. People just have opinions, really, right? And you see, those opinions, they don't count. They don't count because they are also on their own mission. And then they can say they want to derail you for whatever it is that you want to do, right? But the point is, you have a mission. And this is now, the last one I'm not going to say is um also learn to listen, really. Now, I mean, remember I said something about opinions and listening. So how does it like tally? So here's the thing. Um I think I think one of the most important thing is you are what's it called? You learn what balance is. Now there's this thing called balance, where you're able to know when to make the decision or not meant to make the decision, right? When you're meant to listen to people or not meant to listen to people. Now I do not want to give much context into that because I mean there are different ways that you can listen to people, or there are different ways that which people come to come about their opinions to you and a couple things around that. But yeah, just learn what balance is. Try to seek balance in everything. As much as you do not want to listen to people, I think there are some people you have to listen to, right? And I think that's that. And I mean, this one just a bonus point is in anything you want to do, there are always people who have done it before. Try to seek their opinion. Now, try to seek their opinion. So here's now the thing. Now, I think with that, um, should in case people are talking to you and then you don't know what to say or you don't know the next thing to do. Now, sometimes you might make irrational decisions. That's why it's important that you probably go to meet people who have probably done it before. Really, don't care about it. I don't put age into things. I mean, as long as you have the experience more than I do, trust me, I'll be in your DMs talking about, how I can go about this thing because, you know, I just see it as a very good, way to learn and go about things, something like that. So yeah, so I think that's it. I mean, I mentioned 5 points. I was counting it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Really, really, really interesting because everything sort of like they are all interwoven. You have to be able to like take risk. You have to be able to learn. You have to be able to understand the balance. And I think that's like the major essence of like this podcast where people, learn from founders like yourself about their journey, what they're passing through and how they've been able to sort of like, overcome that. I don't know why everything is revolving around mission, but I just want to sort of like get into like your perspective as to why you then studying or why you pursuing a second degree. Because while I was trying to look up, about yourself, I realized that you mentioned you're studying like a second degree in business management. Is this sort of like a plus to the mission that you are on, or what's basically like informed that decision? And can you walk us through like your first degree and how it sort of like intertwines into this?
My first degree doesn't intertwine with this. My first degree is in political science. I don't like politics, by the way. I mean, Nigeria being Nigeria, right? So, why did I pick up business management as a choice of study? So, I mean, first and foremost, um, I always knew that. I mean, I like to manage things, right? I mean, from a level of, I mean, it's been like a very long time. I've always known that. I mean, I've run a lot of businesses during my, when I was in school, after school, even before I got into university. Then, I'd run fashion businesses. I'd done mini importation. Fun fact. I mean, got. I mean, a lot of things really, right? And I mean, at every single period in time, I realized that most of the things I do, I'm usually at the management level of things. So when I think about it, even if I have my friends, joining me on the journey of whatever it's I'm doing at that point, I'm usually just at the end of managing that thing really. So I realized I think there are a lot of signs I'm trying to a lot of I mean a lot of those I'm trying to connect here, and it would just make sense to do this. I mean, and make sure you get it out of it, right? So that's like the major idea, because I mean not the business particularly, but like I'm in line of business really, right? I realized I'm in line of business and management is something. So I realized okay, me getting a certification on this would actually put me ahead, and so knowledge also is a very important thing for me too, right? So that's like the major reason. And on the other hand, one personal reason was because discipline. Now, I mean, I used to lack discipline when it comes to school and books and a lot of things, right? Right. So, I mean, what's the best way to actually discipline yourself if not to, try to do things that you don't know what to do, right? So that's like another major reason why, I just took that leap of faith and said, I mean, let's do this. I mean, I don't, whatever happens, happens. Let's just try and do this really. So yeah, and I mean that's why I said my first course doesn't intertwine with the business management really. While I have a lot of ideas about how politics should be done and a couple things around that, I mean I do not think I'm so in love with politics like that really, right? But when it comes to business management itself, I think I have this what's it called form of I can't use the word love, but I think attraction to it really, something like that.
Yeah, amazing. Um, the choice of wanting to go back is, I think, is the most important part, where you figured your strengths and where you've always been in the ladder of things on the management side. And I'm sure that's what you're also doing at Zerocard, being like the co-founder and also like the product lead. Now let's talk about products, right? Walk us through like your early days as a designer. Because you mentioned you're like you love designs, so I'm curious. You did a lot of business, meaning importation and all of that. When did you stumble on design, and how did that journey happen? Can you like walk us through that also?
Okay, so I stumbled upon Design 2016. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, I've been doing digital art and a couple things around that. So I stumbled upon Design 2016. I started using computer to create stuff. 2017, I was quite good at it. I got my first job in 2017, but if my first gig, not job. And over time, I realized I liked the idea of creating stuff, really like, creating stuffs. But uh there was just this part that I wasn't really convinced about. The business of design, really. I wasn't really convinced if design could actually give me the life I wanted. I mean, at that point it was a passion. So I sought out different, business opportunities to, put myself in where I want to be at that point, right? And a couple things around that. So, it was like what's it called? And so it was like a what's it called? It was like a thing where I knew I always wanted to do really. So I think sometime around 2019, or I think yes, sometime around 2019, I started learning. Was I came across this post talking about you could actually build your mobile app, blah blah blah, by yourself. And I got into the course and I started learning about product design. Right. So it was quite interesting to me because was like I just stumbled upon the goal, right? Because the kind of person I was someone that wanted to create something and solve a problem. And I realized, yeah, I think product design just gives me both, where I was able to think about things from a clinical angle, then come up with a solution, then design the solution. Something as simple as that, right? So, a lot of people ask me the question, I mean, why product design? It doesn't look like a serious career choice, but I mean, according to people. But they do not understand that, product design is not just the existing industrial character. I mean, it teaches you a lot of things if you actually chase it as being a product designer, right? It gives you a way to see things, how to not judge things from your own point of view, but be able to see things from any point of view, being able to being able to listen to people, being able to understand people. So I think one of the beautiful things I love specific about product design is just the psychological power it gives me, right? Being able to understand people easy. Now that's like one of the things I really do appreciate about product design. I mean, so it makes me understand people easy. It makes me want to ask the right questions and listen to people. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, really amazing. So all of this happened because you stumbled on like a book that was instrumental to bridging the gap to you understanding, oh, like you can position yourself in between, understanding product and also like launching you into like building the product. Right. So that means there was a transition, right? Really, really interesting. It brings me to like my next question of um one of the things that I love to do, we found out on the podcast, is really understand, because everyone has like what they were doing before, and then they got into crypto one way or the other. So I'm always curious. You were doing product design, then how did you get to hear about crypto, Web3, and what pulled you in? And you were like, oh, I need to go all in, on this tech, and then let's do crypto.
So my dad introduced me to cryptocurrency in 2017.
Now I need to say something, right? Now you're the first person that I'm hearing this from, because every other person will be like, oh, they heard from their friend, they heard from their online, from a
So
movie
so
or
I
something.
mean I
I'm curious.
mean my dad's an IT guy, so and he likes to explore too. So really, so I mean there was this time he said that you guys are old enough to hear about cryptocurrency now. If you buy 5,000 naira, there's a possibility it could become 10,000 naira. Yes, at then it was quite interesting really. I'm like, well, maybe it's a way for me to compound my money, right? Something like that. So that was like the first thing. That was like the first, time that I heard about cryptocurrency. Then, from there, being a curious person, I decided to like, explore more about like the idea. Then I found people with common interest online, got introduced to some things that didn't pay out, some that did pay out. Now, that was like my journey in cryptocurrency. Like my first transaction was in like 2017, as far back as then. And I mean, it was my for my dad. And moving towards 2021, I started to learn about the nitty-gritties of Web3. What is smart contract, and a couple things around that. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a developer, right? But I just needed to know how some of these things worked, like this, probably like their what's it called, their working structure, or like some of the things that concerns the space itself. Because if I was going to walk into something, I needed to know what I was going to walk into with something like that. So I learned about that. Then came the era of shit coins. Did some shit coins too. Lost some money. Lost more than I made. Lost more than I made. I tried to tone it down. I mean, I was like, is this thing even worth it? Right? And a couple things around that. Then, I think later 2022, 2023, I learned you could actually then build stuffs, not just be a consumer anymore. Try to, start buying into tokens and a couple things around that. So I started, exploring what it actually looked like in building stuff since then. So I mean, we've built amazing products. Some that didn't scale, some most didn't scale actually. Really. I mean, most just died in wherever it is really. And that was just like the starting point for me. And all this period, I was also trying to juggle being a product designer with a couple things around this, right? So it was quite beneficial to me because I mean, why I was able to learn fast in the whole Web3 space was because you know, like I said, product design gives you this skill where you're able to see things from a very objective angle, right? So I was able to learn fast because I mean, I was a good product designer, right? So that actually taught me how to learn things fast, how to learn things properly, right? And a couple things around that. So, yeah. So, I mean, I already explained to you my first transaction 2017. I started majoring on crypto in 2021. Then my building process, learning about building process started in like 2022. Then I started building actually in 2023, something like that. So that's like the process really. And I mean, that's been amazing, really.
Thank you very much. You mentioned something about being onboarded into like Web3 and all of those things, and now you've built quite a number of products that didn't scale. So it brings me to like my next question. What did you learn from that process, right, of building product that didn't scale, and how are you imputing that into what you're building at Zerocard right now? Because the essence of this podcast is for people to learn. People are also like might be in the position that you are now some years back, and now you're doing great stuff, building like a revolutionary product. That's Zerocard. So what do you have to tell people who are building products that didn't scale, and how to go about that?
Okay, so I think most of the reasons why products don't scale is because some don't even get the test or validate the product, right? So I think your answers will come to you when you validate your product. And validating is, just simply going for a very small group of people, testing this thing, whatever it is you've done, testing with them, right? And getting raw feedback. Would this work or not work? As simple as that. You don't really have to waste resources, into. But yeah, most of the times why people don't build what doesn't scale is because first they skip the validation stage, or some do not even get to the validation stage at all, right? So, and I think then was manpower issue really. So, I was trying to juggle work as across with building also. So I mean I wasn't able to give it like a 24-hour, but let me use the word a full-time effort really. So some of the guys where I had just did whatever I they wanted to do. Building a product is a full-time work. It's a full-time thing. If you're going to be getting guys on board, it's a full-time thing too, really, right? So you both have to manage your what's it called, your time, of course with this guy's time, making sure everything is all efficient in one, right? So I think that's like the major thing really. And these days I do tell people in the era of AI, it's a very funny thing to say, but don't build what AI can, what some of these AI tools can just ship as what's it called, as a feature on their mobiles, on their app or wherever it is really. But instead, you can actually join the what's it called, join the bandwagon to create something that makes life easy. So I mean, a lot of ways you can use AI to do stuff really. A lot of beautiful ways, like a lot of beautiful ways. Just think about it, because that's the idea. The idea is that you do not want to do something that would put you at risk really. So you might have validated the idea is so good, but trust me, uh probably Claude is probably looking at shipping something that you built. You spent just probably 3 months or 4 months to build. So they are probably shipping just a week, right? Something like that. So that's like the thing. So that's a couple of things really. Just but I mean for me then it was more about not being able to give my full time to it then. So there was no how I could manage people that were working on it. And I still needed to do a lot of learning too, really. But I mean, I'm happy I did it because yeah, I learned some things, I learned some things, something like that. So, but I think the major reason was because I saw it as a side thing. When I'm done my work, I just go ahead to look at whatever has been done. The couple things around that, it couldn't scale, nothing could happen at that point. So that was like the major thing.
Yeah, really amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. I think one of the things that I also picked from that is, validating your products early on. I think it's sort of like sets you apart, which is something I'm still going to talk about, in the next questions that I'm going to ask, because I figured out, you've mentioned this also in some of your tweets. Other than that, the manpower thing and all of that. Now, it brings me to my next question. Of before Zerocard, you built Pod X, right? Um, so it made me, sort of like think that what's your process for spotting ideas worth pursuing, right? And now, you're building Zerocard, um, which is like the first African, debit card to like spend crypto as cash. In my opinion, that's revolutionary. And I earlier asked somebody on the podcast and said if you had like abundant capital, which company would you invest in? And she mentioned Zerocard, and I'm like, yes, uh, I'm going to be interviewing Dayo and get his perspective. So what's like your idea of spotting like ideas worth pursuing?
Okay, so spotting ideas was pursuing. I think it all depends on one thing. It depends on where you're coming from, right? So, your market is really a very important thing or a very important player to whatever it is you're doing, right? And try to not be delusional. So, if you are the only one facing one problem, trust me, you might be the only one in the world, entire world facing one problem. Because you are facing one thing doesn't mean every other person is are facing it. Now, I know I might have mentioned sometimes in my what's it called, probably talking about why we built Zurich, and I said we faced an issue. Now, yes, there's a difference really. The difference was that, talking about facing an issue, was I also spoke to. I mean, these are some of the things we do not say, but I spoke to like a couple persons where, you know, I didn't even ask them about. I didn't. Here's one beautiful. I didn't even tell them we're going to launch like a crypto card there. It was just if there was a way you could just pay with crypto at the store. What do you think about that? And they're like, yeah, it's a very massive thing, blah 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 blah, and a couple things around that. And that just showed us that yeah, people would like that ease of access into what's it called into some of these tools itself. Do you understand? So that's like one of the major things that But yes, for spotting ideas, right? For spotting ideas, it's all about your market, really. You cannot be in Nigeria and be building for the Indian market, right? I don't know. I mean, except you have someone who is a close ally to you that stays there, really. But specifically, it's all about your market, and there are global markets. There are things that affect global markets, really. And now, market is not all about your location alone. Market can be like a group of persons or a group of people who actually are facing something, or I mean, it could just be like a demographic of like people in a place, in a what's it called, trying to look for this word, in a profession, or probably with common interest, something like that. So if you're able to see or spot something that actually is a problem amongst them, trust me, I think it's something worth chasing, right? People would always pay to get their problem. So that's one thing I've known for a very long time. So if you're able to actually solve the problem that they are facing, then I mean, it's quite good. So I mean, I do not tell people industries they should look into really. While there might be some trailblazing industries at the moment, trust me, I think you might be in a trailblazing industry and still not scale your business really. I think you should just you know, go and build wherever it is that you see as a problem, right? I mean, I was speaking to a friend and he was building a solution for podcast hosts like yourself. Really, I mean, I was so shocked because I mean that reality is quite far from me. I mean, what do you mean you're building a tool for podcast hosts? Really? And then I mean, you can't like we can't like spoke and he explained like how some of the issues that podcast hosts face and a couple things. And I'm like, that makes sense. I mean, if you could get this to people who need it, they'll definitely pay for it, right? So that's the idea. So I mean, I really think spot a problem, not just something you're facing personally, but be able to validate this problem. In product design, like this is what we call empathize, define, and ID, right? So the first things first is okay, you realize something, try to get people who are also facing other, other problems as similar as yours. If perchance you face a problem. Now, if perchance you did not face a problem, try and get people who are facing similar issues. And the next thing to then do now is define. Now, defining is then defining the problem. So you get to hear a lot of ideas from people. What you need to do then is you need to analyze whatever you've gotten from them. You need to define it as an actual problem. Then the next thing is look for a solution, which is the idea. Look for a solution to that problem. Do you understand? What I'm trying? So that's like the idea itself. So it's I mean, if you're able to like if people can like follow this process, then trust me, if you can spot $1 billion idea, you can spot your next big thing. I mean, just something like that really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Really interesting. I think I like your um your three items that you mentioned, right? Can you repeat it again? Something around,
Oh, so you empathize.
um
Empathize is you're trying to
you
get people who
emphasize.
actually,
Yeah, right.
yeah, be in
And
people's shoes.
define.
Yeah. Then you define.
So,
and then you ideate.
and then
Yeah.
you ideate. Yeah, yeah, really interesting. Empathize, define, and then ideate. I think I've also learned how to like spot $1 million business or $1 billion business. So now all I have to do is go into like industries that I'm curious about, and just like how you've explained it, I think it works. Somebody was also mentioning the same thing, how that even with AI right now, you can basically just look for an industry where you can use AI to sort of like automate stuff, and then package it as like a
Exactly.
service to them. And
Yeah. So that's
it speaks to
yeah, that's
what
the
you just
thing.
said exactly.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
thank you so much for sharing that.
So I just thought to mention this really. Like, I think this is one of the
Yeah.
things that I probably would have learned early in my career is AI is not the solution. That is blockchain the solution or Web3 the solution. They're just like a means to an end, really, right? They're just like a means to solve a problem faster. So AI is like a tool to solve a problem faster. So what's the real problem? When I hear people talk about the fact that I'm building an agentic AI, blah 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 blah. I mean, it just sounds gibberish to me, really. Now, not to say there are not amazing people building amazing products in AI lane. I mean, I've seen a lot of amazing AI products, but when you're trying to make the product all about the fact that it's AI, then I mean, the point is, I don't think you are trying. You're just trying to sell an idea to us. You're trying to sell the technology to us, really. So that you are coming from a very wrong angle. I don't think anybody would like to invest their money into something where they can obviously see that you are just someone who's obsessed with the technology, something like that. Now, it's good to jump on trends. I mean, I do not argue that, but I think there is sort of like a balance to it, right? Where you do not see it as, I mean, it just remains to an end, really. I mean, there are a lot of products that you get to use these days that are powered by the blockchain that you do not know. But there are a lot of products that you get to use that AI is their primary workflow, but they don't tell it's AI, really, right? So I really feel like maybe the way some people sell their products or kind of like get a lot of eyes to it is by adding AI to it. I don't have issues with that really, but like just make sure that it's the right problem you're solving, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's talk about the problem you're solving, right? Which is building, Zerocard, enabling people spend crypto like cash, right? Really, really amazing. So for someone hearing about Zerocard for the first time, what is Zerocard, right? And why should they care?
Very good. One of my most important, most favorite questions. So when we built Zero Card, we were obsessed with we built something amazing, really. But months down the line, we realized that I think we should actually solve a real problem. And the real problem here is ease and access to money generally. Right? Come to think about it. So, I mean, let me just explain what Zero Card is. Let me just give like a very good tagline to that. Is Zero Card is the cheapest and the most global way to spend any type of money. Right? That's like the best way I would define Zero Card. Now, let me give more context into that. So, more context into that is that we realize we can't be locked to cryptocurrency alone. Now, cryptocurrency is a booming industry. Yes, makes sense. Like we are really excited about, stablecoins. I mean, I'm a very huge fan of local stablecoins. We're always in discussion with some of these providers to see how we can get them on board on Zero Card. But the idea majorly is that we are actually solving the money problem, the fragmentation of money. Now, I think months back I traveled and then I was not able to use my Naira wherever I travel. We are trying to solve that problem where you have Naira or you have cryptocurrency, you're not able to use it. So, I mean, by the grace of God, you can do that on Zero Card right now, right? You can take your Naira to over like 15 countries in the world right now and you're able to spend it, right? You can spend it now through two means. You can spend it through the card or through our transfer feature. Now, our transfer feature actually supports two routes. It supports you to transfer your local currency directly from your bank, or you use your stable coins if per chance you have stable coins. Now, for the card services, you can deposit both your local currency and your stable coins, right? Now we have two types of cards. Now this we're trying. I'm trying to break this down because it's quite interesting. A lot of people try to box us into the whole crypto card. I like it because it's like kind of like an idea thing, but I think the idea of Zero Card we've tried to I'll use the word upgrade it over time to solve an actual problem, right? So now we offer two types of cards. We offer the contactless cards for people who feel like the physical card is cheap and it's stress to carry it around. So all you just need to just add it to your mobile phone, then you can tap to pay anywhere, right? Or if you're a fan of, if you're a millennial like me, I'm not a millennial by the way, but if you believe in the idea of being a millennial like me, you can like to carry your physical card up and down. So yeah, you can presently deposit, you can presently deposit Indonesian rupees and naira on Zerocard right now, and then you're able to, you know, do most of those things I talked about. You can also send IDRX or IDR Indonesian rupee to over 15 countries. You can send Naira directly to over 15 countries, stablecoins to over 15 countries, and our card supports over 150 plus countries for you to be able to swipe and spend. Yeah. So that's the idea. So it's more like I said again, the cheapest and the global way to spend any type of money.
Yeah, really, really interesting. When you mentioned that um not just boxed into like the crypto part. I think he basically just opened up something in my head. That means like with my Naira, when I travel to like other African countries, I don't even need to bother, converting to like dollar and then converting to their own currency. I think that
Yeah.
unlocks a lot of, access. And with just my card, I can just do stuff. Really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's supported in over like 150 countries, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
Interesting, interesting. That's really fascinating how that it's now global. And I mean, so one of the things that myself and Ukeme mentioned even on like the podcast, who is like building a super app, is that conversation is like global, but value is not. Everybody is boxed in their various region, and so we need to find a way to like make all of this connected all together. Really interesting. So one of the things that I like is that I can see my card. There's something about holding your card. I don't know. I mean, maybe yourself you don't like it, but there's something about
Like I
holding a
said,
card and swipe
like I said,
and
like
swipe.
I said, that's the idea of a millennial. Please.
So we are both millennials then.
I mean, I don't like to identify myself as a millennial, but yeah,
I
I
mean,
like the idea of being a
yeah, yeah,
millennial.
yeah, yeah. Right, right,
Yeah.
100%. Okay, so being like the first stablecoin powered physical card in Africa, what has that unlocked for your team, yourself? What has that unlocked for you?
So I think the answer to that is we've got a lot of attention, right? Trust me. I mean, we've spoken to a lot of people really over the years, over the months. I mean, we've gotten access to a lot of people. You guys are building amazing. I mean, you've not really had something like this in Africa. Blah 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 and all of that, right? So I mean, it's giving us that access to a lot of things, a lot of people, and a couple of things around that. I was speaking to a friend, recently that the what's it called, the head of crypto in Visa gave me a follow, and I mean, yeah, it was Unjoku, who's the founder of Ultra Markets, that did the what's it called, the introduction, via email and a couple of things around that. And these are the kind of things I used to dream of. I mean, years back, really. But I mean, having access to some of these guys has just been one thing I know, that yeah, I mean, having building something phenomenal. These are the kind of like opportunities, or kind of like attention that you get from things like this, something like that. So yeah, I'm at the stage of learning how to manage attention. That's my present status now. I'm really very bad social person. I mean, I really post. I mean, I'm just learning how to do those things. So I'm at a stage where I'm learning how to undo some of this, attention and a couple of things around that. So yeah.
Yeah, really interesting because you guys are building something phenomenal, and I'm happy to hear that because it opens more and more door to like what you guys are building, more access, and the fact that it also opens up people to it brings more people to like your journey, um as you guys are going right now. My next question revolves around the attention part, right? Where there was like a tech cabal feature, of how they sort of like said, crypto is not being forced, but rather like This time I think crypto bros are not forcing like crypto in all of our faces, but now you guys are solving like a real problem. So I want to ask, how intentional were you about building real utility from day one? And because for like a media company to like pick this up, it actually means a lot.
Okay, so real utility. Well, it was until recently I learned some of these things about utility and a couple of things around that. Uh, I mean, I've always just thought of a problem as a problem, and just build it really, right? And one of my friends mentioned, yeah, I like daring things. Really. I do not believe I like daring things. I just probably see things from a different angle, really. Like the way I can like do things. Most of the projects I've taken on are actually bigger than I am, right? And my like a very good example is Zerocard. I mean, I think I gave this speech somewhere where I had no idea on how card transactions work. Like I had zero idea on how card transactions, and you know, and at that point, I mean, it's a very it's a very funny story really, because I remember when we started building Zero Card, then I had zero knowledge about mobile apps. I mean, I was a designer with just like a bit of experience on like what's it called, developer tools and a couple things around that. And then uh, I didn't allow those things to stop me. Trust me, like to be very fair. I mean, all this happened under a month, right? Getting a provider, speaking, building, learning. These things were things that happened over a month. I mean, yes, there's a trick. I and my co-founder, we locked ourselves inside the house for a month, right? And when I mean locked, trust me, like every minute mattered for us because we had almost zero knowledge. Now, how do we go from zero knowledge to a very good knowledge about what it is we are doing and still also balancing everything, right? So we knew we needed to spend time learning and learning and learning. At the same time, learning and building. So it was cool that we made mistakes at some point, while building and a couple things around that. So we didn't care about that. But the point was we needed to keep on learning, right? And the most important thing that we learned was that I wouldn't say do not give up because sometimes you have to give up. But yeah, I think one of the things that we learned was how to learn. How to learn. That's like one of the things we learned. How to learn, how to know, right? That's like the things because it's a thing to know and it's a thing to know how to, right? Something like that. So that's like one of the things that really helped us and boosted, you know, everything that we learned. That some of the things that we did. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of intentionality, figuring out what you guys have to lock in. I guess yourself and your co-founder are like the definition of lock the fuck in, right? Really, really
Ah,
amazing.
my co-founder is like times two of my body size. The guy after that 1 month, you have to take a break, and go and enjoy life and a couple things because I mean it was crazy really. I mean more days, nights. I mean, because we just knew we had one shot at this. And the world was watching and we needed to like just make it right once. So that was like the idea. So there was really no time to sulk in and start thinking about what is and what isn't really. Right? We just had to go all in and say, well, I mean, what do we have to lose? Something like that.
Yeah, 100%. So I think for everyone watching, you have to just go all in. Once you like find that idea, that aha moment on what to build, um, just like what you said, Dayo, you need to know how to learn. Um, I think that's a lot to process because a lot of persons, are also like in that era, but they don't even know where to turn to or like what to do. And just like to the point where you mentioned, you need to be able to learn from people, reach out to people. And I'm sure during all of this process, you did all of that, reaching out to people who have gone ahead of you for the most part and learning from them and then imbibing yourself into like the lock-in mode. Really interesting. So I mentioned I was going to ask this, right? where you mentioned earlier on about validation. What do you have to say about validation? How did you go about validating Zerocard? Give us like a full blown playbook on, validating your product.
Okay, so the first version of Zero Card that we launched, we tested it with 20 people, right? We kind of like got these guys on board. We sent them the physical cards in different locations, and I mean, a couple of them were able to use it. And one of the things that we realized that actually got me happy was that there were very mundane spending on the card, right? What I mean by mundane spending was people paid for things like paper with cryptocurrency. That is something we can never see. Something we had not seen, no, we can never see. Something we had not seen. And I just knew that, nah, I think this is it, really. Like, this is actually one of the things that we actually dreamt of, really. Where there is this woman that just has a paper stall, and then you just go ahead to meet her, oh, hi, please get me this 100 naira, get me this 200, get me this 500. And then you pay for it. And she doesn't even know what you paid with. Trust me, it was just like that thing where, nah, it leads like this fire, in me, and then we just had to like say, okay, well, we are going all in. Yeah, so that's it. So I mean,
Yeah,
because
interesting.
we had to what's it called? I'm a co-founder. We made like this very. I mean, I think one of the most huge sacrifices that I could say that we made was leaving our jobs to build this, right? I mean, for what it's worth, that was just like the moment where we said, well, I could always get a new job, right? If it doesn't work out. But I think this is the best time to do this right now, and the couple things around that. So yeah, guy, let's go, let's go. I mean, I'm really grateful, really, because imagine I didn't find someone on that same frequency as I was. Trust me, I mean, to a large extent, we wouldn't be where we are right now. And that's just the thing, really. But yeah, we were able to get where we are, and then yeah, it was really amazing, really amazing.
Interesting. So validating your product is like going through a set aside like user base and constantly getting like feedback from them. And so that would mean also like plugging into like your network of people that you know, because you mentioned, you sent the card to like a few selected persons and that they gave you like, amazing feedback, which sort of like clocked that experience of people paying with Pepe or paying for Pepe with the card. Really interesting. Now, over the months, Zero Card has gone from like 10K total volume to like 100K. I think that was like in a month. What drove that's like 10x, right? What drove that 10x growth? I guess adoption and utility, or is there something we need to know?
Well, um, so I mean, there are a lot of things, right? First was the fact that we had like this wait list people that were already waiting for like the product. So when we launched Zero Card with additional features at that point. And unknowingly to us at that point, there were a lot of people that needed some of the solutions that we launched, which were extras. We didn't tell them about it. So when they came up, they were like, "Oh no, this is really amazing!" And then we just saw people start using it. And I think the other thing that really did help us was the fact that we saw early traction from like the Southeast Asian market, right? We didn't do any marketing there, but I don't know how we were able to like I don't know how Zerocard was able to seep, through the markets. And then we had a lot of people trooping in for the card specifically. Like they just cared about the card. They cared about the fact that you could add the card to your mobile phone, you could load it with cryptocurrency, and you could spend it at the store. These guys were so happy. I was like, wait, why are you guys happy? So we had the committee for some of these guys. We spoke to them, we understood some of their pains and a couple things around. I was like, yeah, I think we're going to double down whatever it is you guys need, provide you guys the services as much as you can. The couple things around that. So yeah, and I think that's like the major thing really. And yeah, I think that's the major thing. We've been able to like just get people who just needed some of the solutions that we had. And yes, one of the things we had people who are waiting, right? We had people in our wait list. So we had to first take our wait list data. I mean, you guys have been waiting for a very long time. I think you guys will be the first set of persons to test whatever it is we built. Why not? So and then these guys came on board, started using it, and then yeah, it was quite amazing, really. I mean, sometimes anytime I wake up, I usually checked, the whole volume thing, and I'm usually shocked because when I go through like the transaction volume and like the history, I'm like, wait, do people really have money like this? I mean, a couple things are, and I'm just so, I'm just so, I can't use the word happy because I'm just shocked. I'm shocked actually, and that shock is coming from a place of the fact that, well, I think you guys are making the work so much easier for us. We do not have to. I mean, we didn't have to do 10x marketing to get some of these results. Really, just had to build what people needed. Really, something like that, and then people loved it. So yeah, something like that. And
Interesting.
it's a secret. I mean, probably don't tell everyone, but I mean, kind of like I've almost doubled that already. But yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Happy to hear that. Earlier on, I was talking to you about how I'm also trying to, get my own card. Once I'm done with that, I'll be happy to also like, get mine and start spending my crypto like cash.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So I think like in the stablecoin card scene, right, we have quite a number of like um types of cards, right? We have like exchange issued card and consumer card. Take for instance from like Coinbase, Binance, Bybit, and all of those things. And we also have like neobanks with crypto cards, right? Like Cast, Pay, and all of those type of cards. We have self custody cards from MetaMask and Phantom. We also have like full stack issuers like Rain, Reap, and other amazing guys. So I just want to understand what part are you guys in? Like, what part of the stack are you guys in? And if you don't mind, you can walk us through like the architecture, like the infrastructure.
Okay, so I think we are more of like a new bank with like a card service, something like that, because we offer other services across, I'll use banking. I mean, just money movement from one place to the other, right? So the card is just like a means to an end for us. Is one of those things where we tell people, you know what, if you are traveling and you probably run out of Steam or data or something, just your card works everywhere really. You can use it to do this, you can use it to do that. Couple things around that. And for our infrastructure, well, I mean, I didn't spend much time talking to my CTO about that. But I mean, from like the early stage, it was more of like a liquidity backed system, where we settle merchants, and then being able to maximize some of the what's it called, opportunities gotten from some of like some of these card schemes. They are able to they create, if there are some infrastructures where you can just maximize either the profit. I mean, I say the profit. Some of their systems in terms of like their liquidity management and settlement and a couple things around that. So I mean, we've been able to maximize some of those things, a couple things around that. So yeah.
Okay, really interesting. It brings me to like my next question. We'll be going back to you being like a product designer first, and then being like a co-founder. Um, how did you go about that, right? How can you identify like the right people to work with or to collaborate with? I also asked this question like in the previous podcast, right? Where like collaboration over competition, right? How do you find people to collaborate with, such that you can match your skills together and go in the direction at which you want to go? Because you mentioned that at the time your co-founder also was on the same wave as you. And so I just want to like share your experience, because I'm sure quite a number of persons are also like on this level where maybe they are just product designers and they are not developers, and they have quite a number of ideas that they want to bring to life, and it's not coming forth, right? How do do they navigate that collaboration landscape?
So I think the thing is, don't try finding. Usually, these are one of the things that you try to find that you don't get to see, right? It's quite a funny thing to say, but yeah. But I think one way to to then fix that statement I made now is by saying that become the right person so other people can become the right persons for you too. Right. So what I mean by that is usually there is no perfect partner, really. It's that you guys are working towards being perfect, really. So I see the energy, you see the energy, and then fuck it, we're moving together, something like that. That's like the way it works, really. So we can't like just operate on that. That's I think that's the right word to use here is frequency. When I see the frequency you are operating on, I realize that okay, you are moving in a direction where you want this to work, then I should also move in that same direction because that's the only way this can work. We can't be moving in two different directions. And it's quite a very funny thing to say. So there must be a level of sacrifice that both of you are willing to give to whatever it is you want to do. Sorry. And what that means is don't expect something from someone that they're not willing to give themselves. I mean, these are some of the things that they'll be willing to give themselves if it was something they actually really did. This. And because the point of expecting is the point of disappointment, and disappointment can cause a whole lot of what's it called damage and a couple things around that. So if you know you have the tenacity to go on your own, please try to go on your own. When you are good at see, here's the thing. I believe in one thing. Build yourself enough so people would envy that they want to be with you, right? So when you're in that kind of space, you get a lot of people that want to be with you. But if you're lucky enough to get people at the early stages, I mean, cool, you guys can roll together. But I think don't worry too much about getting people on the train because that's going to be the longest move. You will never find the right person. I mean, from my own what's it called, from my own opinion, really, you just wouldn't find the right person. There's just one thing or the other that they're not willing to put on the line. And trust me, those things are really the main deal, right? That's what makes them different from the perfect person. Do you understand? So if you can go, I mean, go find and if you know you want to go alone, try to find a mentor, someone who is closely, very that likes you so much and really wants your growth. They can't build alongside with you, but they can help you to scale through. They can also do some introductions for you and a couple things. And last but not the least is this is very funny. But do not try to build where you do not have money. It's quite funny, but it's trust me, nothing will be right at that point because what you need is actually money to eat, no money to build. It's quite funny because people think this whole building process is all about a poverty alleviation scheme. The time the poverty is going to be alleviating is years. And you cannot wait years for your poverty to be alleviated. So you have to do what you have to try to find a way to alleviate poverty first, then move on to the next process. So that's it.
Yeah. So you mentioned two things that I actually want to touch on. First is like we want to brainstorm, right? Using like the methodology that you sort of like gave, right? Empathy, and also the rest, the other two, right? Now, from what you said, and also like what one of the founders that I had on the podcast mentioned was actually the same. And I've been thinking in my head where there are quite a number of persons who like have skill set and they're trying to like look for somebody who can match them. Take for instance a product designer and a software engineer. So I was thinking in my head, what if we build like a matching platform for people to collaborate, and then oh, we want to build like a startup. So I'm thinking, do you think that will scale? And from what you mentioned, I think one of the things that I have in my head now is ensuring like a system where that person is valuable enough first to even attract the other person. I think that's like a very good one where like because the person has scaled through like certain level already and they are not trying to be motivated, or they are not trying to, how do I put it now? They're not trying to be motivated, or they are not trying to become um what you are looking for. They are already that thing that you are looking for. And so that's like a measuring ground for even coming on the platform and matching them together. Or what do you think about this? And then to the next question of like mentorship, right? I was going to say that or ask you that over the years you've become like a design mentor, right? You've paid it forward, you've mentored other people, via different programs. What role has mentorship played in your journey, right? So over to you.
Okay, what role has mentorship played in my journey? It has helped me to build my career and most importantly my mind, right? So mentors are just those kind of people where you just, when you're trying to figure out a certain burden and they remember that one person has gone through it, you're like, so whatever this person has gone through and they passed it, I mean, let me just try and recreate that and, go through it. So it reduces the time that you have to take. It's all about, I think the word to use here is wisdom. It's all about something that is going to take you 10 years to do. Having a mentor is going to take you just 3 years to do that. And a lot of people are too proud to want to submit themselves to mentors or mentorship. And I mean, I do not mean to be, what's it called, to be, chasing people up and down, forcing them to mentor you by fire by force. It has to come naturally, right? And that comes from you building your career. My early days in my career, I mean, I met a lot of amazing people and I did amazing work for them. And aside the amazing work, I shared some of my thoughts, right? And they realized I was a valuable person and they kept me beside me. And some of these guys are even building amazing products. I mean, some of them are building amazing products right now. Some of them have built products that's done over $500 million, $500 million in transaction volume, and a couple things around that. Now you could imagine what this person has experienced. And then there was an issue we faced at Zerocard. I was so worried that they just called him. And then I was like, why are you worried? Like, are you like you don't need to get worried and just tell me a couple things. And I mean the next day I just picked up my bag and then we are back up at it, right? So you could imagine how what that would actually do to a person. And also me being a mentor to people. I mean, mostly in design route. I mean, one of the things I'm teaching these days, right, is not just design. It's how to think. Really, how to think from like a very objective point of view. Because when you're so subjective about things, trust me, you can never build something that will scale. If everything is all about my own point of view, my own opinion, and a couple things, trust me, things your whatever you're building will not scale. You have to be able to see things from people's point of view, right? You have to be able to learn people. So learning people is you understanding people and you being able to give them what they want. As simple as that. I used to give this very good analogy of it's a very popular analogy, by the way. I use it in most of my classes. I mean some of my classes actually. Um when people requested for faster horses, do you think it was possible to get faster horses? I mean, biologically, let's say no, because horses are naturally faster, right? Now you could have horses who are naturally faster than the other, but that's very huge speed difference between a horse and and a car was I mean a horse and the other horse was just not really that. But here's the main thing. People they now offered what? They offered a car. Because the problem was you needed to get to where you are going faster and more comfortably, not a faster horse, really, right? So that's one way to objectively think. You don't just see things from your point of view. I mean, when they've said this, but you have to be able to objectively think. Now, what that would do is that would help you to analyze data very well. See, data analysis has to be one of like the top most important skills in the world for I think for any founder, really, for any founder, you just have to know how to get what you want and use what you have to no use what you have to get what you want, really, right? That's what as simple as that. So I mean I think that's it.
Yeah, really amazing. I think you've not touched on like my question on like the idea.
Yeah. Okay, on the idea you said, I just remember now. Okay. So I mean, I could think of it that there are a lot of people who have probably built platforms like that. I could remember sometime I applied for Y Combinator for a product I was building then, and there is this thing called Y Combinator matching, wherever. Now a lot of people have met their co-founders on Y Combinator matching. Um, I think the matching platform, right? Now here's the thing. I think the way no there's as long as it's a problem that you see, right? I think the way to go about it is think about it from a different angle. Everybody has probably been building the same thing, and they've not been able to gain that spotlight as they should. really, because trust me, if you do this, then you are building like a human, it's like a human capital layer. And trust me, something about human capital layer is that it's so profitable, right? It's really profitable. You could I could think about 10 business models on that right now, and they could just 10x, even 100x, or even 1000x really. But I think the only best way to go about it is then really think about what people have been facing, come up with the right solution, then solve it. I think that's just it. Because I think it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing, especially for African founders who are actually looking for founders outside the country. Because I don't know if you heard about this whole thing about if you need funding outside the country, you look for a co-founder who is in that country, because people trust investing in that country than investing in you, because yeah, you have a co-founder there. I mean, this could be like a very good what's it called? A very good thing to sort of like believe in. You understand? Something like that. So, but yeah, it makes sense. I think it really makes sense. And I think beyond that, like I said, I see the product as more of a human capital thing, where what you are selling really is human capital. And trust me, quite uh that's quite a very expensive thing.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think you've also like given us or given me like another angle to think about, like founders looking for co-founder. I mean, I've always like heard about it where even sometimes people are looking for like co-founder maybe in Asia. I mean, there's like always like a stereotype as to like the location, whatever. But yeah, it brings me to like my next question. This one, I just want to get your point of view. You're a product designer, and all of the skills that you've learned were because you put in a lot of work. What's your take about like following your passion or becoming extremely good at something? Did you follow your passion, or you just, you know, become extremely good at it?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, if you do not have anything doing at that point, always follow your passion. I think life is too short to be overthinking things really. By the way, you will figure things out. Now, if you find something you know is worth selling, try to be extremely good at it. Now, it's a very funny thing to tell people not to follow their passion because they are Nigerians. I mean, do you know if the difference between them and the top 10 Nigerians is following their passion? Something like that. But another reality is always learn to feel fast. So even if you want to follow your passion, try to feel fast at wherever it is, and then try to figure out what's the next thing. Pick up yourself really, because that's like the most important thing. But following your passion, or let me use this word, try to be good, try to be the best in following your passion. Now,
I
um,
like that.
and one fun fact is, if you can grow passion in things, right? It's by also what's it called, learning the right things about that thing. So because I think one of the things that actually grows passion is when you have this certain understanding about that thing that makes you like it. Do you understand? Then it makes you want to grow your passion, something like that. But yeah, I'm personally myself, I'm not the right person to answer that question, because I've always been in the design route for almost all my life, and I still think it's really helping me. So I would say I probably followed my passion, but to that extent, I also followed money, because I needed people that was, trust me, I needed money too. I needed money, so yeah, it was quite important. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think for the most part, most persons, like you mentioned, don't have like the luxury of figuring out what they want to do. Now, my whole concept is just like what you mentioned. Like life is too short. Just do what you want to do, right? A lot of persons, spend a lot of time trying to figure out, oh, do, am I a match made for this? And trying to figure out that, oh, because I'm not a match made for this type of profession, or I don't have like the skill sets for this type of profession, then that's not it. But what if you become extremely good at it, and you can still even scale forward? Now, one of the things follow your passion will do is that it doesn't allow you scale, even when there are like challenges and all of those things. you might have to like rethink like your choice because even everything is hard by default, right? You just have to be able to
Everything is that.
scale through, right?
Yeah.
So that's like what I'm trying to like get at the end of the day. So yeah, now in all of these things, how do you unwind from like the stress of crypto?
So I play instruments. I'm presently learning two languages.
Ooh,
Uh,
tell me about it.
and I mean, I've been learning. So yeah, I like French. I like French. So I'm learning French, and I've been learning
Do you
Japanese
mind
because
introducing yourself in French?
Anna, please don't do that. Let's not do that. I mean, I'd like to do that when I'm so confident about it, something like that.
Okay, so I'm also
But yeah,
learning Chinese, right? So I'll say ni
oh,
hao, wo jiao ayo. So that means my name is Ayo, right? And I'm from Nigeria.
obviously, if I say Je m'appelle Demidayo, I mean, I think everybody understands that. I mean, it's not like a special, it's not like a special thing. But yeah, uh, mostly I play instrument. I mean, the instrument I play is guitar. But I mean, it's been a while I played the guitar, so it's more about what's it called? And yeah, well, a fun fact about me is I read about philosophy and psychology. That's it's kind of like some of those things I obsess over. So, and I have this friend who's always ready to talk about some of these things, you know, and yeah, it's just amazing. So I don't find myself doing anything really special. I mean, probably by the side, I just like traveling. I like exploring places. I love art, really. I love art. Anything artistic, anything creative, you find me there, right? And what else? I like cooking. I I learned how to cook Alfredo pasta recently.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense. Because
yeah.
cooking is also art, if you ask me, and that helps you like stay afloat out of work, all of the stress, and yeah, really amazing. Thank you so much for like sharing like your experience and like your thoughts. I think we have sort of like come to the end of like the podcast. Before we move to like the break the block session, right, where I ask like two things and you just answer on the go. Do you have one final words for like our audience? One last thing, something you've not said before, to the audience. Over to you.
If there's anything I've not said, be obsessed with your process. It's yours. See, that's it. Um, Nobody owns your process better than you, right? It's something that you own personally yourself. I think that's it.
And that's on point because I'm also like a process person. It resonates a lot with me.
Yeah,
So because everything that I do, I sort of like enjoy the process. The podcast that I'm doing right now is also like a process, right? And
yeah.
the journey, or
I saw your post on like some of the achievements, and I think to be
yeah,
fair, I think you guys, I mean specifically you guys, you have this thing that not everybody in the world has. Like, do you know what it takes to build a channel? Like, trying to get people to, you know, I mean, it's a lot really. I can't, sometimes I envy some of the things that, when I get to see someone talk about the fact that he has been able to achieve this amount of subscribers and it does something that is quite, quite important or quite, reasonable to watch and a couple things around that. Trust me, I know it's not easy. I really do know it's not easy. And I mean, that's one level of discipline I'm trying to get to. I feel like people
mm,
that do things like this, they have this another level of discipline, and I'm trying to learn that. Yeah, something
bro,
like
you're
that.
building a billion-dollar company. You have discipline, all right? Just kidding, just kidding. I mean,
All
thank you
right.
very much for like the words. And so, I mean, be obsessed like with your process, like what you guys, like what you said and what everyone heard. Everyone has to be obsessed with their process. Everyone is on their journey, and you have to be so obsessed with this because that's where you're formed. That's where like you understand things more. And when you get to the level of where like it's free flow, you can build that experience and rinse and repeat for others,
Yeah.
coming, along the way. So thank you so much for like sharing that. Now let's go like to the break the block session, right? No overthinking. I'm gonna be asking you two questions. Um, if you had like abundant capital today, which African startup would you invest in and why? You're not allowed to mention your company, right?
Okay. Which African startup would I invest in? So can you ask the second question? Why I take time to think about this? I mean,
Oh
have
yeah,
yeah. Please ask the second
for
question.
sure. Okay, for sure. So it should be like a Web3 African startup, right? Now the second question is, what's one product that you use every day that you think is severely underrated? Any Web3 product, it doesn't have to be African or whatever, that you think it's severely underrated. It could be like a developer tooling or like whatever infrastructure.
Hmm. Every day, I don't think I use developer tools every day, but let me say the product I use every day that I think is highly underrated. Um, I think that would have to be Ugly Cash. Now, they're almost like my direct competitor, but I think specifically in Africa, I think the product is underrated. Really, and I'm going to tell you guys why. But I mean, I think it's quite underrated. I mean, the product is nah, it's up there. Really. I mean, I use Ugly Cash. I mean, for specific reasons. I wouldn't tell you why I use Ugly Cash, but I'll tell you people really actually need to use Ugly Cash more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Ugly cash. Over to the second question.
Okay. Yeah. So I've kind of started about investing. So I think I mean I have my answers already quite simple. And my answer was going to be Paycrest.
Oh,
Uh
okay.
yeah. So nah, I think I respect Chibi. I respect Chibi. I mean, builders and devs who understand what Chibi has done know that nah, this guy is something amazing. And some of his thought processes. I mean, I've been to his place. I've been to his house once, and we spoke. And nah, this guy is. Nah, I imagine having this guy waking up with this guy every day. Trust me. So yeah, I mean, I'll really if I can be his partner, I would like to be part of his company. I mean, one way or the other. And I think
Really
one of the
interesting.
best ways to be part of the product of his company is to actually invest in his company. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And this is like you're the second person mentioning Paycrest, right? So that
Yeah.
means Paycrest is actually really building something great. And funny how I also like interviewed Chibi like some months ago, and congratulations to him also. They just raised like 400
Yeah.
k pre-seed,
Yeah. Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
a lot of big ups to Chibi, right? He's a great person trying to solve like you know a lot of liquidity problem, not just in Africa but like globally. Yeah, pretty much it. Thank you so much, Dayo. We've come
Yeah.
to
You're
like the
welcome.
end of the podcast. Thank you for sharing, your journey, insights as a founder, and I'm sure like quite a number of person watching this would have learned a lot of things. Myself, I've learned quite a lot of things from like the model of identifying like a problem and solving, and then your thought process, even as like a founder, building like Zerocard, and yeah, hopefully I'm able to get my card in some days time.
Yeah.
Sorry to mention, how many days does it take?
Well, depending. Usually a week.
Oh, okay,
Most
okay.
likely a week. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, awesome, awesome. So I also like be getting my card, and I'm going to be showing online also. I'm gonna be posting about it. So yeah, if this conversation made you curious about what Dayo and the team are building, be sure to follow him on X and check out Zerocard. Also order your own cards, like I'm doing also, right? So you can spend
Yeah.
crypto as cash anywhere in the world, right? And if you found this conversation valuable, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more conversations as this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
guys.
Bye, guys.